Welcome, and thank you for joining the Louisiana Restaurant Association for this webinar on the Visa Mastercard settlement claims process. This session is offered exclusively as a benefit of your LRA membership, illustrating our commitment to providing you with tools and opportunities to enhance your business. At the LRA, we work hard to ensure you have access to critical resources, whether it's advocating for your interest, delivering timely updates, or connecting you with financial opportunities like this one. The $5.5 billion Visa Mastercard settlement is an opportunity to recover some fees paid between 2004 and 2019, and we're here to help you take advantage of it. Recently, the LRA aligned with DCAP claims to provide you with an option to support filing your claim. Today, we have Megan Kuzma with us from DCAP Claims. Megan and her team are experienced in settlement recoveries and can guide you through the step-by-step process for filing your claim. With the February 4th, 2025 deadline quickly approaching, now is the perfect time to get started, and Megan will explain how to do it. Thank you again for joining us. Now let's dive in. Please join me in welcoming Megan Kuzma. Megan, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to join this webinar today. I'll start off by saying, Wendy, thank you for the introduction. I think you did a great job outlining what we'll be talking about today. And I will say this isn't the most exciting topic. Antitrust settlements tend to be a little dry, so I will try to keep this short and sweet for everybody. So we are today talking about the $5.5 billion Visa Mastercard settlement. This settlement relates to allegations that Visa and Mastercard overcharged or conspired to overcharge fees between January 2004 and January 2019. Now, they did not admit fault, but they have set aside this $5.5 billion in escrow. It has been in escrow since 2019 and accruing interest during that time. Anybody who processed Visa and Mastercard is eligible for this settlement with a very few exclusions that don't usually relate to restaurants. Those tend to be gas sales, along with an opt-out list of very high-level businesses such as your Wendy's, your Walmart, your Target, those really big players in the game like Amazon. So them being opted out means that $5.5 billion is available to smaller businesses, less than those large players of the game. A little bit about antitrust law. So antitrust law dates back to 1890. These laws are in place to prevent anti-competitive acts and promote fairness within the United States. So these laws, again, have been in place for a very, very long time. Most of the time, people think that these settlements relate a lot to class action. These tend to be more related to business, and again, preventing that anti-competitive acts and a fairness. So Louisiana Restaurant Association has joined forces with DCAP to help their members access this settlement. So as mentioned, people have been able to apply for this settlement since 2019, and we are now at exactly 60 days left to be able to apply for the settlement in time. So if you have not accessed the claim for any reason, be it a complicated process, time constraints, the LRA has joined with DCAP to make this a very easy process for you, eliminating as much time and resources on your end while still allowing you to claim your share of these funds. So industry standards for third-party filers such as ourselves, who are going to handle the process for you, tends to be between 30 and 33%. I've seen it as high as 45. We've negotiated a special rate for LRA members at a 25% fee. Our team at DCAP will handle your claim from start to finish. That's going to include gathering all of your documents, defending your claim value. And it's important to note that DCAP works on a contingency-only basis. So that means there is absolutely no upfront fees. We only recover any funds when you do. And if for any case, we defend your case until we're blue in the face, and we don't recover any money, that does not happen often, there wouldn't be any charge to you or your business. It is a risk-free claim. Why should you file? Of course, there is pretty significant financial implications here. So restaurants typically handle a pretty significant volume of credit cards. Louisiana last year did about 14.3 billion in restaurant sales. That's going to mean that restaurants collectively paid between 250 and 350 million in credit card fees. So this is a great opportunity for restaurants in Louisiana to recover a portion of those. Again, this is a risk-free filing. We work on that strict contingency basis, no upfront costs at all. And the claim management. So with these claims, again, you've heard me mention this has been ongoing since 2019. We will keep you updated on this process. So we'll send out regular updates via email, and you can always check in about your claim status. DCAP, why use DCAP claims? Again, we really simplify the process from start to finish, eliminating as much time and resources on your end while maximizing your claim value. So we work hard to make sure that you are getting every dollar you deserve from this settlement, making sure every eligible year is in there and the data provided by Visa and Mastercard is matching what we expect for your return. Our long-term partnership means that once you are a DCAP client, we will keep you informed of any other settlements that your business may be eligible for. Speaking of restaurants today, we do have our eyes on some food settlements that are in progress right now related to beef, pork, and turkey. If your restaurant missed out on the chicken settlement, which just paid out recently, those are thousands of dollars that you could be, adding to your business's revenue. So we will keep you informed of any other settlement eligible to your business once you are a DCAP client. We support a long list of different businesses in all different industries, specific to restaurant, some familiar to you, maybe Margaritaville. Not on this list because they don't like us sharing their logo, but a large number of McDonald's, a large number of Wendy's, Slim Chickens, a lot of restaurant franchises, as well as a number of associations. We work with a number of retail, restaurant, hospitality associations across the United States. This here is an example. One of the number one questions I get is, will the juice be worth the squeeze, and how much can I expect to get back for my business? So what I have here is a case study for an existing DCAP client who owns a restaurant. This restaurant in particular does about $2.5 million in annual processing, and they're expecting a return between $4,500 up to $10,800. Now there is a pretty big range here. The reason for that range is there's a number of variables involved in the payout, and it is meant to be an estimate, not an exact figure. So the variables included in the payout are, number one, that this is paid out on a pro rata proportionate share. That $5.5 billion is going to be split between participants who make a claim on time. Now, if one person filed a claim, they would get $5.5 billion. Since we don't know how many businesses are going to be applying, we're not sure exactly what your return will be, but we're pretty comfortable projecting that you can expect between 4 and 10% of the interchange fees you paid over that 15-year period. Getting started is quite simple. Here's an example of our 13-question intake form. Typically, once you send this to us, this is all we need to file, defend, and get your check mailed to you. If we need any other information, we will liaise with you to help you track down that information and provide it to the claims administrator. But what you'll see here on these 13 questions is mostly basic company details. Some things that can be a little trickier to track down, maybe your merchant IDs, especially if you've changed merchant providers over the years. Those are helpful but not mandatory to include. We can always track them down later if we need them to defend your claim. I think that's all I have for you guys today. Here's my contact information, as well as our education center who works with us and directly with our clients with any questions, with any claim support that may be needed. I'd be happy to open up the floor for questions now. Before I do that, I'm going to hit some of my high-level questions that I typically get. So again, how much will you be receiving? We estimate between 4 and 10% of the total interchange fees you paid. Another great question that I get is when. Settlements of this size do take time. We are anticipating payout to be happening between 18 and 24 months after the February 4th filing deadline. Another question I get often is if your business closed during the eligible period, you are still able to file a claim. If you were open for any amount of time during those 15 years between 2004 and 2019, you should pursue for those years. happy to open up if anybody has any questions. Take a look at our chat here. And Wendy, yes, you are correct. American Express and Discover are not included on this settlement. So this antitrust settlement relates specifically to Visa and Mastercard.
While we're waiting on if any of you have any questions, I want to make sure that you're aware that this is being recorded. So if you have any coworkers or peers in the industry that missed this call, you'll be able to share it. And also, I'll have the form. There's a easy intake form for DCAP and the case study form available for you. It'll be in the snapshot today, the e-newsletter that goes out on Wednesday afternoons from the LRA, and also on our website at lra.org under latest news. Can you email your contact info to everyone on the call? I will provide you with the information following this webinar. Everyone who registered, I'll email you directly with the information. We do have a chat. We have had several different entities. Should an intake form be filled out for each entity? I would think so, but just want to make sure. We have close to 20 entities.
Great question. Those multi-entities, it's going to depend on whether they operate under their own unique EIN or whether they share an EIN. That's going to be dependent on your business structure. Now, if each of those have their own unique EIN, please reach out. I do have a multi-entity intake form that I can send you that should simplify that process for you.
Great.
I have a question.
All right.
Hi. I went and registered with the settlement people online, filled, and it was really simple. And then I submitted my claim, and then I got confirmation that my claim has been submitted. So it kind of looked like your form, very simple, tax ID number, submitted it, got back the charges, I forget what you call it. So what else would I need to do, and why? How would your service benefit me?
So Jed, great. I'm really happy that you've pursued these funds. You're absolutely welcome to pursue them on your own, and we encourage you to do so. What we find is some businesses either don't take the time to do that or end up with a claim more complicated than what yours was, Jed. Which means, whether there was missing data, whether there was missing transactions, that's kind of where DCAP really does hold their weight in defending that claim when it's not quite that simple. I'm just thrilled that you went ahead and pursued it. My number one goal is to really educate businesses that they are eligible for this and make sure they pursue it any way they do. So on their own through DCAP, but funds are available, and with 60 days left, our goal, and I believe the goal with LRA, is just to make sure that you don't miss out on these funds.
Okay, well, thank you for that.
Absolutely. And if you'd like me to add you to our mailing list, one of the number one complaints that I get from people who have filed on their own is they have no idea about their claim status. So if you'd like, I'd be happy to add you to our mailing list just to get regular updates on where the settlement is at and when you can expect your payout.
Okay.
Great.
I just have one more question on the sort of different entities. If the entities all roll up into one entity for ownership purposes, can you file under that EIN for that entity?
Great question. Yeah, if they're under that shared EIN, then it will absolutely all come together under one check. That is how they separate the claims and the claims administrator.
And then one more, do you all take a fee for helping administer this service?
Yeah, and
covered that.
Yeah, we covered that in the presentation. That fee's actually been negotiated with LRA to be reduced down to a 25%. And that tends to be about 10, 15, even 20% lower than industry standard. In my discussion with Wendy and the other team at LRA, at this point, if you have not filed, I encourage you to send it to DCAP so we can handle it for you, because we're just on such a short time frame with these 2 months left. In those 2 months, we have some holidays in there. So rather than missing out on the opportunity, if you don't think you're going to find the time, please let DCAP handle it for you so that check will come.
Okay, let's see. We have a question in the chat. Does it matter if the accounts were set up under its own EIN rather than their parent company EIN?
So regardless of the EIN structure, these claims are going to be separated by that EIN. So there's been, again, if your business has changed EINs over the years, that's where we're going to really help you to consolidate that to get your claim submitted under the proper EINs over the correct timeframes, and to ensure that in that submission, nothing is missed. So if they have been set up under different EINs, it's certainly something we would track over the years and make sure it's submitted thoroughly.
Any other questions? You can unmute yourself if you would like. All right, well, did you say the payout typically takes 18 to 24 months?
Any point in time that
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier in this call, the settlement is paid out on that pro rata proportionate share. So it's going to be split between all participants while still taking into consideration that interchange fee paid. So this is going to take some time. Now, these settlements in the past, especially ones of this size, do tend to take that estimate of around 2 years from the filing deadline. Now, I am hopeful. We meet with these claims administrators, the people handling this settlement. We meet with them pretty regularly. They do seem very organized. I'm hopeful that it'll be sooner, but I always like to underpromise and overdeliver. So I do believe that 18 to 24 months is safe, and I'm hopeful that it will come sooner.
Jamie, you have your hand up. You can go ahead and unmute your line.
yeah, I just thought it was easier since you said ask the question. Will this process involve, and I don't think it will, it seems like you guys are saying it's pretty easy, just any of us collecting statements over the years, things like that?
Great question, Jamie. So we do try to eliminate as much.
We've rolled up with 10 entities in before, so go ahead.
Great question, Jamie. We do try to eliminate as much of that, resource and information gathering. Worth noting is this is dating back to 2004. We're going back 20 years. The claims administrator has been pretty understanding that records dating back that far aren't going to be readily available, and they've been pretty understanding with that. Most of the data that we're using to defend your claim is actually coming right from Visa and Mastercard. So we use that to match up with your merchant IDs, with your EIN, to find each of those eligible transactions associated. It's not common that we need to track down additional documentation from you. That would be a circumstance of either a $0 claim value showing or a very high variance in what we're expecting for you versus what your claim value is showing, that we may dive deeper and request some documents to further defend your claim. But it's not typical and it's not common.
Anyone else? You can go ahead and unmute your line. Thanks, Jamie.
Now, while we're waiting for any more questions, I will just mention, I know we're here speaking to a lot of restaurant owners in Louisiana, but I always like to say, if you have friends or family members who may not have accessed this, but were business owners during that time frame, please let them know that the settlement exists. Please let them know that there's resources, such as myself, available to help them too.
And should they just email you or just go through your website or?
Yeah, you can reach me at my direct line. I also have my phone number available, which is direct to me. So feel free to reach out whatever way is most convenient for you. My team over at the Education Center, we work cohesively. So anybody that you get in touch with, we'll make sure that your claim gets handled. But I am working directly with Wendy and everybody at LRA. So feel free to reach me, email, phone, any way that's best for you.
Because I have several clients that I'm not sure if they're doing this or not that I'm thinking of right now to talk to them about. So, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we mentioned some of those bigger clients we work with, but I will say, I personally love recovering for those smaller independent businesses. So a lot of these filing companies, they have a minimum. We do not. I'm happy to recover for anybody, and any amount matters. So please reach out. And again, friends, family, anybody who may be eligible, we'd be happy to help.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none. If you have any questions, I'm going to email you this information and this link to the webinar shortly. So you can always reply, and I will facilitate connecting you with Megan, and you will have her information directly to contact directly as well. So I want to thank you all for taking the time this morning to join us. And I know how important every cent in our industry is for each and every restaurant. So I am really happy that you took the time to find out about this process. It seems pretty easy, and it's also time is of the essence. So like Megan said, we have 60 days. So while your payment won't come for a while, it's a good way to, anticipate some returns on your funds from this settlement in the near future. So, Jamie, I see another question.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Just last question, and again, it's a pretty simple question, but you might know something with it. Obviously, this is the collection of funds would be income on a tax return, and I didn't know if the IRS has, been involved in this or anywhere aware of this to where that there's any type of. Are we thinking of that they'll come out with some kind of, I don't know, credit something to offset some of the taxes or anything like that? They may never do that. I mean, the IRS is the IRS, but I just didn't know if you heard anything about that. If that tax implications behind it.
So Jamie, it's something that we have been discussing at DCAP as a company. So it's something that we would be sure to keep all of our clients educated on, especially as we approach that payout date. So right now our focus is certainly on making sure everybody eligible is signed up, but it's something that we have on our radar, and we do plan to educate all of our clients about those tax implications.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I'm sorry. May I jump in with one more question?
Sure.
What kind of additional backup have you found is necessary? If they come back and say that they're looking for more information, what kind of information are they typically looking for?
So, that's going to vary so much on claims. And I'll be honest with you, I've personally worked on about 3,000. So I've handled just about everything that can come up. When I think about having to dive in, typically what I see is missing years. So even though that company, it's possible that they changed merchant providers over the years, a merchant ID changed, and that didn't end up correlating to the EIN number and the associated transactions. So that tends to be a pretty common one. Some of the more complex ones that I've dealt with have been related to changes in ownership at the business. Those can get a little hairy when we get into sales contracts and who's entitled to those settlement funds. But typically the most common would be tracking down a merchant ID from a prior processor that isn't showing up within your transactions. And, if I'm missing 3 or 4 years, then I will certainly take the time to call your prior merchant provider on your behalf, find out that old merchant ID, and get those additional funds added in for you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Jamie, is this a fresh hand up?
Yeah, it's a fresh one. People keep asking questions, and it's prompting in my head other questions. Would it be helpful, with what you just said? And I'm glad the other person asked this question, so thank you. Would it be helpful to give you history, basically, as our company has grown? We've been open since 1997. Actually, before that, there was companies been since 1991, and so we've had a lot of changes in regards to how our entities are selling off the business, buying it back, rolling up entities, things like that. would it be beneficial to provide like a history of us to help you get through the claim quicker rather than stumble across things?
So what I would typically recommend for that, and Jamie, you're probably one of the best examples of, I have encouraged everybody on this call, you can file yourself, but yours sounds like one of those ones that would take those additional time and resources to really be thorough on. And that's where, DCAP's 10 years of experience is really going to shine. In your case, what I would recommend is giving me a very high level overview. Hey, I changed ownership this year. I changed processors this year. That way, when I get that data uploaded from the system, from the portal regarding the claim, I can watch for those years for variances specifically. I don't want you to do a ton of work ahead of time before we get that data in case miraculously it is all very accurate. So what I would say is, those little additional details about those years where changes happened would definitely help me to watch specifically for the data imports on those years. But I wouldn't ask you to pull records dating back to 2004 or prior before we really knew how deep we needed to dive into that.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Now, if any other questions come up after, again, feel free to reach out, give me a call, send me an email. I'm available anytime.
All right. It's 10 o'clock.
One more question.
Okay, Jamie, come on.
Sorry, I know you guys hate me.
Okay.
When is the last point you're taking applications?
I will take applications up until February 4th at midnight, until the very last moment that I can send them in.
I don't plan on taking that long if I do it. I'm just wondering.
I hope you don't wait until that last second, but I will probably be up until midnight on February 4th making sure. So
I don't want to do that to you, but thank you.
Jamie, I love how thorough you are. I'm sure your questions were a lot of questions other people had, so thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, stay tuned for a follow-up email with all the information and the link to the recording. And I really appreciate you all taking the time again this morning. And thank you for your membership in the LRA. And we're really happy to partner with DCAP and Megan to help facilitate this process for you guys. So with that, have a great day.
Nice to meet everybody.
Thank you guys very much.